Let's go straight on to covenant studies. We are continuing in Genesis that we have been doing seed tracing. Seed tracing today. We want to go straight to chapter 11, Genesis 11. Genesis 11. There we see how immediately after the flood, Noah was on board with the families, with the children, and the three sons of Noah, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, how they, became the nation or the people that inhabited the earth. They became citizens of nations. The 4 areas or 4 territories that occupy the northern part of the world, the middle part of the world called the Middle East today, and the southern part where the children of Ham dwelled. Children of Japheth took the upper side, which is the northern side. The middle side was Shem, occupied the middle, and Ham was the south. Okay. Moving on, we began to look at these children one after the other. We looked at Japheth, we looked at Ham, we looked at Shem, and particularly we dwelt somewhat at Ham, looking at what Cush, Ham begot Cush begot Nimrod. We began to look at what Nimrod did and how his life metamorphosed into what we know today, what we see today, and how we live today, and how through him the world, has turned to what we see it, or the way human beings are governed today. We were told that Nimrod, after Yahweh has so blessed him, he rebelled against Yahweh, who blessed him. Just like when Israelites were so blessed, in the land of Canaan, that later became Israel, but somehow they turned their back against he that brought them out from Egypt through the wilderness for 40 years, taught them his way, which is the culture, what he, wanted them to follow, the way, the tradition, the eto, how naturally Israelites would have followed the way of truth, the way of righteousness, so that they will not look at the Gentile world, whether Egypt or the Canaanites and all the surrounding nations. But after they got into the land, they were, the land blessed them, Yahweh blessed the land, Yahweh blessed everything. They, began to increase, multiply, eat, grew fat, and in the end, they forgot Yahweh. Yahweh said, as a result, inasmuch as they choose to serve another, now they will not live in that land. They will go and meet those other, nations with their idols and gods and whatever they were worshiping. Let them serve them. After they are done with serving them, by the time they had tasted the trouble, the captivity, the affliction, the persecution, they will now realize what Yahweh was telling them, and they will then choose who they will worship, whether they will return to worship Yahweh or they will continue with whatever they had chosen or followed to serve. So that, in a nutshell, is where we are heading to. Now, looking at where we are, basically studying the book of Genesis and other Torah books that are going to be coming forward, like Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. We are going to continue to look at the seed. So today we are looking at the seed which we have been tracing. Bear this in mind. What we are, the picture I'm trying to paint, and that's why we are dwelling so much in the book of Genesis. We have stayed to ensure that we grab all the nitty-gritty so that we will be able to follow the Torah, understand the Torah, the scriptures as it were, and the whole of the book of covenant at the end, so that you'll not be a stranger, because we are Israelites and we are tracing to understand who we are. So seed tracing is what you find in the book of Genesis and other part of the Torah, and it's all talking about Israel and their history of Israel, Israel. That is exactly what this book, the book of covenant, is ensuring that anybody that pick it up would read and understand. Who was it given? Whose story is the book of covenant, Bible? Whose story is it telling? So we are looking at the history of the people, Israelites. Two things is what is working out here. Seed tracing, history of Israelites. Now we look at Noah in chapter 10 of Genesis chapter 10, and we see one, Shem. Let us concentrate today, having dealt sufficiently with Nimrod, though not exhaustively. We haven't, in-depthly covered all about Nimrod, but what we have grabbed will tell us where the trouble of Israelites had been up to today. The trouble of Israelites had been in what Nimrod himself, followed, served, worshipped, the god, the idol that he created, religion he created. He was the first man beast. If you can catch that, hold that whatever that is happening today in terms of worship began in that Genesis chapter 3 from Adam, but escalated in the time of Noah, who conquered the entire world. We are told historically, and the biblical view, we are told that Nimrod conquered his brethren, all those sons of Noah, those from even his own immediate brethren, the children of Japheth, the children of Ham. He is from Ham, from Cush, the son of Cush. Then Shem. We thank Yahweh today that Shem, maybe some part of Shem or Shem was conquered, but not the entire Shem was conquered, out of where we have the name Eber. Shem begat Eber. From Eber, the name was changed along the line to Hebrew, children of Israelites, the Hebrews. Then from there, Abraham was called. Now, Genesis 11:15 to 17, particularly, to Genesis 12, traced Abraham, the seed. Through Abraham, a seed will come into this world to challenge that power that disorganized Adam and Nimrod. That is also the product of evil, product of or seed of evil. So you can see that there are two, if you like, two seeds that you find in the Bible. And one depicts good or righteousness, the other one depicts evil or wickedness, sin. Now, one is the author of everything that is good, the way of good, the way of righteousness, the way of life. The other one depicts religion that brought in what is called idols, through which human beings worship another, God. Now, when you talk about God, God is a generic name or title, as it were. And this generic title is what the other, the another that at the end Israelites followed and served. This another evolved what is called religion. And through his religion, he caused men to push out or go with what is called images, carved, molded in picture, whatever form, that they worship that another, and it is called God. And this God, we read where Yahweh saw them worshiping God, call it Elohim, call it Baal, call it whatever you call it. Remember, the another is the creator of this. So whatever name, nomenclature that entity produced that people worship or follow, as a way of reverencing, doing service, doing worship, whatever it is, negates the way of Yahweh, finds the way of Yahweh, and causes, people to fight against Yahweh, disown Yahweh. But this is the cause of the problem. So there is this constant conflict going on. There is this constant war, if you like, going on all over the world today. Is as the result of this enemy that want to overthrow anything or everything that is called good, everything that is called righteous. They want to turn it. You just want to live the opposite of what is called good or righteousness. And what happened in heaven when Satan, Lucifer, rebelled against the laws of Yahweh, the ways of Yahweh, the way of Yahweh. And we are told he was cast down because of that rebellion. So the same rebellion, he lectured humanity, he enthroned on the earth that human beings should follow. I guess we're understanding what is going on here. Please, anybody joining us should put on clothes. Last week, we had to cancel one of our videos because somebody came out just like that. It's not good to be heard. Let us put on our clothes and join, because we're in a service. We are before our Father. So let's move on to understand clearly this seed, Eber, later became Hebrew, from where Abraham came, Genesis 11, 15, 17. Now, Abraham came on board with loads of promises from Yahweh. Yahweh promised Abraham. Yahweh promised Abraham loads and loads of goodies. If they will serve him, he will do A, B, C, so, uncountable. Now, for us as children, as seed, we have to offer Yahweh something. All we need to offer him is obedience. We need to offer him obedience. We need to obey his word. We need to follow his instructions. That is what he needs from us. Now, we see Abraham coming on board, Genesis 11, 27 to 12. We see Isaac coming out of Abraham as seed. Sarah delayed in bringing in a seed. a son. Now, it wasn't her making, it was Yahweh that had the timetable and was monitoring situation because he was preparing Abraham to take over the earth. By next week, Yahweh helping us, when we'll be looking at the history and story of Abraham, we are going to see why this is a conflict. In every seed that Yahweh is bringing into this world, there is conflict around that seed, in and out of that seed. So we are going to see it happen. We saw that happen in Abraham, in Adam. We saw that in Noah, and we're going to see that in Abraham. We're going to kind of exposit this in Abraham for us to understand. Because most times it's like these days we are talking about God, Lord, Elohim, and all that. We don't know where this issue, this problem metamorphosed and began to eat into human beings, enter into the vein of human beings, enter into every life, that at the end is only by Yahweh, anybody who will be saved, we, be drawn to enter into that kingdom. It's only Yahweh that call us. It's only Yahweh that draw us, bring us from the miry clay, from the enclosure and Satan's grab. It's only Yahweh that brings us from his hands and cleanses us up and make us ready for the kingdom. So that is why we are looking at what has enticed us and captivated us into that kind of stronghold where everybody had remained. If not the grace of Yahweh, nobody will be delivered. Mm-hmm. And Yahweh has been working hard to ensure that his own people, the very seed of righteousness, will be delivered. Seed of good will be delivered, cleansed, and put in that good or righteousness. That's what Yahweh has been. When we are talking about seed, that is seed on the side of Yahweh. That's what we are talking about. Seed of evil, Satan wants to rope them into God worship. God worship is serving Satan. So that is all about evil, which Bible talk about. Now, Isaac begat seed as well. At the end, that seed, was called Israel or Israel. We're going to look at that again. Now, the pure seed, grab this. The pure seed has been trailed, has been followed by the evil seed. Wherever the pure seed goes, whatever the pure seed want to do, the bad or evil seed, which is of Satan, has always followed the pure seed. I want to destroy the pure seed or corrupt the pure seed or defy the pure seed so that Yahweh will reject that his seed. Oh. So that is what has been on. Now, because of one man who decided to follow, let's be clear here, follow Satan, which is Nimrod, who followed God Elohim, and as a result, he got himself contaminated, and all that followed him contaminated. Now, we hear this in Genesis 3:15, and also we read about it in Genesis chapter 4. Genesis 3:15, or particularly Genesis 3, 4, and 5, was where this God invited Adam to be like him, like God or gods. Then in Genesis 4, the son or sons of Adam, was cornered One was captured, and that is Cain. Cain took to the way of the God of this world, Satan. And the first murder was done by him. He killed his brother Cain. Abel. Cain killed Abel. We notice that in Genesis chapter 4. Now in Genesis chapter 10 and 11, we began to hear about Nimrod, the great grandson of Noah. Now, what he did set the whole earth into idol worship and contaminated the world, the earth we live, the ground, the vegetations, animals, the fishes in the water, everything as a result of serving, worshiping idol or idols, God or gods. The whole earth was polluted, contaminated. Now, Yahweh has been fighting all along in all these ways that the enemy has been trying to contaminate and corrupt the human kind, from Adam to Cain to Nimrod. Yahweh has been trying to restore the seed, humankind, into glorious nature of his. Now, something happened in Genesis chapter 10 and 11, where the language, that language corruption, we talked about that last week or thereabout. We spoke about the language corruption. That language that was touched, that Yahweh splitted, one language that Yahweh splitted, had effects. Although they were corrupt, but they were speaking one language. Somebody should search, I think is, help me check Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 46. Check from Jeremiah 42, 43, 44, 46. Because something happened to Judah. What we are talking about here, about this language splitting, the cause, I just want to break it down a little bit so that you'll understand it. Because the issue of idol worship goes with language speaking. Now, what the world was under one language, under one umbrella. They were speaking one language. But it came to be when the children of Ham, children of Japheth, followed, that is when Nimrod conquered them, they were all brainwashed to worship the God of this world, the Elohim of this world. Now, they were still working together under one language. And with that one language, they can do and undo. They were united. Language is a power or a tool that unites. It's a force that unites people. So Yahweh said, no, he's going to do something with that language, particularly all of them that had left him and followed another. He's going to deal with that issue. So he confused their language. They couldn't understand themselves, that they began to run. They scattered. They began to run. So they spread abroad. Though there was a rebellion that caused that. That rebellion was, Yahweh had told Noah, when now you came back into this earth, you multiply, you increase, then you will spread all over the world. But unfortunately, that was not to be, particularly all those that Nimrod conquered. He gathered them in a place called, or city called Babel. They built a tower there, and they will continue with that one language. Now Yahweh has to break that language. Are you able to find me that Don't worry, I'm going to get it in Genesis. Jeremiah. It's about Jeremiah 11. But before I get to that Jeremiah, let me just do a bit of explanation for you to understand what this language issue, because when people are talking about what they're worshiping and sitting where they're sitting, making noise about what they are holding on, I pity them because they don't know where they are and what Yahweh is planning. Because all that rebellion, somebody has to pay for it. So we see that because of their rebellion, not to spread and multiply, increase, and fill the earth, and the idol worship which they carried, worshiping Satan, Yahweh drove them. And when he drove them, all of them moved out with whatever they were worshiping, that idol they had. By the time Yahweh scattered them, they were already worshiping Satan via what is called God or Elohim, whatever language or tongue they were speaking. So they carry all that all over the world. And that's why, apart from Israel, Israelites, all other nations are called Gentiles. That is those who are not under Yahweh's covenant. Those who are not under, the word or instruction of Yahweh. They were all on their own. Those that served and followed Yahweh are called Israelites. So when now they scattered, Yahweh now gave a promise. And that promise is promise of restoration. Restoration of one language. And what that means, according to the word of Yahweh, is that the world has scattered without him. Many had left without him, and they are their own, worshiping another. By the time Yahweh will now return through Yeshua to restore his people, he will also restore the language. The one language will be restored. That I want us to, I know we shared on this last week, but then for us to comprehend this, because when we talk about idol worship, it has a hook in this language matter. Let somebody follow me to Zephaniah quickly. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9. For then I will restore to the peoples a pure language. So after Israelites are restored, the entire world also will be taken care of. Yahweh will restore everywhere for sanity, and he will cause the world to speak one language, that they all may call on the name of Yahweh. That is the reason why he will restore language again. That they may call under one name. Get that? Now he said to serve him with one accord. Under one name, he will restore the language so that they will call on the name of Yahweh and to do what? To serve Yahweh in oneness as a united people. Because language unites. Language makes people to come together. Zechariah. Again, Zechariah. The importance of this is to let us know why language is important and why language holds key to worship. It unites. And when the true name is taught, Yahweh said when he makes the language pure, clean, they will recognize his name has been shouting from wilderness. They will recognize is that name and they will key to it. Now, let's look at Zechariah chapter 14, verse 9. And Yahweh shall be king over all the earth. This is Yeshua coming back to be king all over the earth. Revelation 11, verse 15. Then, in that day, it shall be Yahweh is one. Did you hear that? Yahweh is one, and his name one. This is the time of restoring, Israelites, restoring their Hebrew language, so to speak. I know it is Hebrew, following all that we have been studying. Hebrew language was not touched. That was under that one language the world was speaking then. He splitted the tongue of others who are on rebellion and caused them to depart. Now, Hebrew or Eba held his tongue, held his language, and he continued with it up to today. Unfortunately, though, the language of Hebrew has been corrupted as we speak. It has been corrupted because many of the Hebrew or Israelites are also worshiping the God of this world. That is what brings corruption. That is what brings wickedness. That is what brings, when somebody departs from Yahweh, the person enters into corruption, into wickedness, into defilement. Now, we are not done. Let us look at Isaiah 19. Isaiah 19, for more emphasis. Isaiah 19, verse 18. Isaiah 19, 18. And it said, in that day, 5 cities in the land of Egypt will speak the language of Canaan. What is the language of Canaan? Language of the Hebrew, Israelites, because Israelites conquered Canaan and took over the land. So that the language that is spoken there, because when Israelites returned back to that land, Canaan, they established themselves and became a nation, and they spoke Hebrew there. So that is what Yahweh is saying, that even Egypt will speak what? The language of Hebrew. In that day, 5 cities in the land of Egypt will speak the language of Canaan and swear by Yahweh of hosts. They will swear by Yahweh. Yahweh, not Elohim, not God, not idol, not any title at all that human being can imagine. People, I'm emphasizing this because even the Messianic members of the faith derailed. These are Hebrew, these are children of Israel. They derailed. And that's why Yahweh said, even Hebrew language has been corrupted. One will be called the city of destruction. Now let's look at Isaiah 57, 19 there. Isaiah 57, 19. 57, 19. I create the fruit of lips, peace, peace to him who is far off and to him who is near, says Yahweh. I will heal him. So Yahweh has made a promise. Even those that are near, Israelites, and those that are far off, the Gentiles, Yahweh will heal them. And that is still talking about his language. He's going to use his language. Is going to be a mechanism of healing them, bringing them to know the truth, and they will follow the way of Yahweh and know his name and depend on his name for everything about their life. Isaiah 45, verse 23. I have sworn by myself, the word has gone out of my mouth in righteousness and shall not return, that to me every knee shall bow, every tongue shall take an oath. What is he talking about? By him every knee shall bow, by his name. His name. What is the knee going down to do if it's not calling on his name? He shall say, surely in Yahweh, did you hear that? In Yahweh I have righteousness and strength. To him men shall come, and all shall be ashamed who are incensed against him. In Yahweh all the descendants of Israel shall be justified and shall glory. So that is re-equipping Israel to Yahweh and returning all the Gentiles that will join them to Yahweh. And all of them, he will cause them to speak one language. So the language of the Hebrew will be renewed. I don't think it's another or a different language Yahweh is talking about. It's same Hebrew that Shem, Eber, and Abraham followed and worshipped, which the descendants continued with. So that language will be reactivated, renewed, purified, and made to be powerful. That all men will be caused to worship who? One Father, whose name is Yahweh. That is the message that Yahweh is trying to point out or let us understand. Now, when you look at Acts chapter 26, for us to confirm what language Yahweh is talking about here, Acts 26, verse 14, Acts 26, verse 14, we read from Shaul, Apostle Paul, his encounter with Yeshua HaMashiach, our Savior. He had an encounter. Listen to what Apostle Paul recorded. We read from verse 14. And when we all had fallen to the ground, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in Hebrew language, Shaul, Shaul, why are you persecuting me? It is hard for you to kick against the gods. Now, that is when Apostle Paul was hunting the saints. He was going to Damascus to arrest them, catch them, imprison them, afflict them, kill those he will kill, and all that, because he wanted to stop the movement. He wanted to stop the people of the way. He wanted to stop the saints that Yeshua came and trained, prepared for the kingdom, and for them also to go into the world to prepare others. Yeshua's Shaul and the Jewish leaders were against Yeshua, were against his ministry, were against what he was doing to return or bring Israelites back from where they had fallen. Because all of them had been wired to follow another. They had been wired to follow God, Elohim, Adonai. So they refused, they rejected Yeshua, they said no to him. Even in the house Yeshua was born, his brothers did not believe in him. That is what the scripture said. John chapter, when you read John chapter 7, I think verses 3, 4, 5, or 6, you pick that up. The brothers did not believe even in Yeshua. So you will say that virtually all Israelites, except few, that Yeshua, trained and raised, but they still pursued them. These people Yeshua raised, called them the apostles, called them the disciples, called them the congregation, called them the assembly Yeshua established. They wanted to eliminate them. Now, Yeshua said to Shaul, why are you doing this? Don't you know that you are doing it to me? When you are, because Shaul was under authority of the Jewish leaders. He was working for the Sanhedrin, the council of the Jews, who were in charge of the temple. And they didn't like Yeshua, they didn't like his message, they didn't like his ministry. They wanted to stop his work. After his death, they thought they are going to exterminate and quench his work. But that was not to be. Along the way of Damascus, Yeshua met Saul, Apostle Paul, and he later became Apostle Paul. He was Saul then, and told him, you are fighting me. You better have a rethink. The rest story is what you know. So when he was, caught by Yeshua, and he made him one of his disciples and later apostle, he became one of the pillars, one of the forerunners, and one of the people that we are now teaching his Jewish people as well as the Gentiles, because he was sent to the Gentiles to teach them, bring them in, so that they'll be grafted in. Now, there in Acts 26:14, we see how the name Hebrew, the language Hebrew, came on board. Shaul revealed that Yeshua, the Messiah that is returning, spoke in that language. And that was the language of Hebrew was the language he spoke. And we know that when he returned, he's going to speak to us in that language. And that is the language he's going to restore the earth. Going to restore the earth in that language. Now, let's keep on tracing. Seed tracing, we are, continuing Genesis 11, 10 to 32. Now, in Genesis Genesis chapter 11, 10 to 32, we are now going to look at this seed. Now, we are going to look at it by genealogy. Now, this genealogy here from Noah, it stems to who? To Shem. Now, we look at Shem, who had lived 500 years and begot all these children, and descendants, call them descendants, children, great-children, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-grandchildren, and so on to the time of Abraham. Now, let's look at it in a quick move. Let us look at how it happened. Verses 10 to 11 in that Genesis 11, 10 to 11, showed us Shem that he begat who? Arphaxad. Arphaxad begat Salah. Now Salah begot Eber, who later became Hebrew. Now Eber begot who? Peleg. You can read about Peleg in 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 19 and Luke chapter 3 verse 35. That is to tell us that all this that happened in the Old Testament, they were connected also in the New Testament. So genealogy is very, very nice because it helps you to look at the past and see how it reflects to the future or draws in to the future. So we see Peleg in verse 16 to 18 there, through to how he begat who? Reu, R-E-U, Reu. Reu now begat Serug, verses 18 to 21. Serug in verses 20 to 23 begat Nahor. All these names are very, very important, but let us be careful and watch closely what will happen. Now, Nahor begat Terah. We are getting there. Nahor begat Terah. Who is Terah? Now, Terah in verses 24 to 28, who lived about 200 years, when now he begat his sons, begat the first son called Abraham. Terah holds a lot of history. Terah holds a lot of information about what was happening in the domain of Nimrod. Terah was recruited, is it Terah? Yeah, Terah was recruited by Nimrod to work for him. He called him prince. He was one of the princes that worked with Nimrod. And what happened? What we got out of Nimrod relationship with Terah was the idol. Remember in Babel, that city called Babel, where they developed or built that tower called Tower of Babel. Now, that Tower of Babel, the Babel was called Gate of Gods. What reigned there and why there was confusion in that land, in that particular area, was because they built a kingdom of their own. The headquarters of that kingdom was Babel, and which later became Babylon, or later it was called Babylon, and the headquarters was within that tower they built. And we are told that as their tongue was splintered, they scattered all over the world, that they are going to regroup. I and you, following history, we know that after the First World War, they established what is called League of Nations. The League of Nations was not holding water so much. After the Second World War, they established what is called United Nations. Today, United Nations is there where? Where is United Nations? In America. Now, who is, or what does America depict in our time today? Now, you can now see that Tower of Babel and the Babel itself, which metamorphosed to Babylon, that Babylon had continued up to today. If you want to argue that, see Daniel chapter 2, the image. And that image from the head flowed with all the history and the information that was presented there through empires, about 4 empires, to the feet or the 2 legs. The 2 legs was designated as the Roman Empire. Is Roman Empire gone? Yes, the old Roman Empire is gone, but the toes are still living, and is going to, produce what the world is going to have in these latter days. And out of it, we already have what is called United. They have put the world, they brought the world together under United Nations, and they are existing and alive. Nimrod of old is alive today. What remains in the United Nations of today, as they united in Babel, what remains for them today is how they are going to bring in another beast, the last beast. Remember, the first beast was Nimrod. I hope we are following this message. The first beast was Nimrod. The last Nimrod that will metamorphose into the last beast is being worked out. They're still, trying to fine-tune themselves. And the 10 nations out of which this little small power horn, but mighty and mightier than all, right from Nebuchadnezzar of that image of Daniel chapter 2. That power is going to be called the beast of these latter days, and it's going to work with false prophet. So they are working it out. You see, the earth is doing like this. The people of the earth, things are wobbling, things are not unstable and all that. If you have been following events and news, you will understand what the Bible is trying to tell us. And Yahweh has been at it. Yahweh has the final say, the timetable of when this beast will emerge. Because if Yahweh had allowed it all along, right from Egypt, Israelites wouldn't have returned to the land of Canaan. They wouldn't have returned, because that was empire then. Then empire of Syria came before the empires that were shown to Daniel in chapter 2 came on board. Babylon, Medes and Persia, Greeks, then to what? The last day empire, Roman Empire, that metamorphosed into the 2 legs that is still on. So Yahweh has been at work, checking this empire, checking this empire, checking these empires, ensuring that his seed, until his seed, the number that we begin to take, or that we possess, or possess the earth, until that number is complete, he's still working them out. He's still ensuring that nothing will happen to them until they are complete. The question is, am I part of this work of Yahweh? Am I part of bringing? Because it's all about work of Yahweh. Whoever that Yahweh will not bring to it will not be part of it. And how will Yahweh bring you out? Your character, your behavior, you are saying yes to him. Your obedience will determine whether Yahweh will call you or not. That is the key. In citrusing, that is the key. Your character, your behavior, your mindset. Yahweh said, fear me, obey my instructions, obey my commandments, love me. And that is where obedience comes in. In all this, obedience comes in. Then Yahweh will see that seed and say, yes, this seed belongs to this, kingdom, his own kingdom. I believe you hearing what you're hearing today, you will ask yourself, what is stopping me to be part of Yahweh's kingdom? What is that is stopping me, that will not allow me to enter his kingdom, to be part of the kingdom that Yeshua said, I go to my Father's house in heaven, to prepare a place for you. And after I'm done, I'll come back. And wherever I am, you are going to be. Where is he going to be? He is going to, when you read the book of Daniel chapter 2, you don't need to ask whether Yeshua is returning back to heaven, rapturing people. No, he didn't preach that. He said he's going to conquer the nations of the earth. And he is going to do what? Take charge. He's going to rule. And his kingdom will endure forever. So that is where he's going to be. He's going to be on earth. That's the promise. If you obey me, if you continue in the work you are called, wherever I am, there you will be also. That is the kingdom. Now let's continue with this genealogy. I'm not done with it yet. Now we stopped at Terah, who was 200 years. Now Terah begat who? Abram, Nahor, and Haran. 3 sons. Now let's look at it critically. That was Genesis 11, 29 to 30. Let's look at it critically. We see there that Abraham married. We are still tracing seed. Continue to put your mind to it, to the seed tracing. Abraham married to who? To Sarai. And Nahor, the second son, married to Milcah. Now, Milcah, we are told, is a daughter of Haran. Haran had a son, Lot, whom Abraham took when they were departing. Unfortunately, Haran, son of Terah, died in the land of Ur, in that Chaldean land. He died there. He didn't follow them when they were moving out. You will ask me, why did Terah took his children, his family, and moved away from Ur, the land of Chaldean? Why did he move? Why did he leave and go to the land of Haran? We are going to answer that in a little while. So we see that Haran had produced about how many children? 1, 2, 3. Lot, Milcah, and Iscah, before he died in that land. So he didn't follow his father Terah to journey or to move away. He bare the daughter that Nahor married, which is Milcah. Now, Abraham, throughout the time they were in Ur, he married Sarai. Sarai didn't bear a baby or a son for him, so she was still barren. Nahor married and got a daughter, Milcah. Haran got 3 children. Now, what was happening here is that they were marrying themselves. Up to the time of, in human history, up to the time of Abraham, they were marrying son of a man and a woman who marry the daughter from the house. Remember, when Isaac was to marry, Abraham asked Eliezer, go to my father's house in Haran to get Isaac a wife. He didn't want Isaac to marry in the Gentile because that was the instruction of Yahweh. Are you? You see, this instruction didn't start when the children of Israel were coming back from Egypt in the wilderness, because in the wilderness he told them, don't intermarry with the Canaanites. This instruction was already with Abraham, that they should, Abraham, when you beget your children, your descendants, they should not marry to the, they should not take wife from the Gentile families. Their sons will not marry outside. Their daughters will not marry to the Gentile families. Abraham knew that. Isaac knew that. Jacob, it was in his brain. But where did the corruption come in? It was when they were returning from Egypt. Because in Egypt, they also got polluted by mentality of the Gentiles and the welfare, the worshiping Asherah, the queen of heaven, called Easter. They got it from Egypt. They learned all those wickedness in Egypt. And Yahweh was telling them, when you get into that land, don't worship these gods that they worshipped in Egypt. And when they got into the land of Canaan, they should not join them. They should not follow them. They should not even ask them about their culture, about their tradition, about their gods, how they do their worship, who they worship. They should follow him. Because Yahweh in the wilderness took time, keep them 40 years to do what? To teach them. Though they sinned against Yahweh, Yahweh was angry. Yahweh said, you haven't learned lesson, you will learn lesson here. He tutored them, educated them for 40 years. It was for them to internalize his way, his culture. That was why they stayed that long. Did they learn lesson? No. When they get into that land, they began to intermarry, associate, and do all those things that Yahweh said they should not do. That was what brought corruption in Israel. Thick, serious corruption that today it has to, take only Yahweh to deliver any Israelite. It has to take only Yahweh. Now, they moved. Terah and his family moved to Haran. The children married themselves so that the family culture, the family way of life, which is in Torah, which is the way of Yahweh, will be maintained all the way from Adam. All the children of Adam married themselves. All the children of Noah married themselves until Nimrod became something else, became the beast of the world. Now, Terah took his children, his first son, Abram, plus Lot, the grandson, excuse me, and son of, that is, Lot was grandson of Terah, the son of Haran, and Sarai, according to the scripture, the daughter-in-law of Abraham. They traveled to Ur. No, they traveled from Ur, the land of Chaldean, to Haran. There they dwelt, and Terah died in Haran. Terah died in Haran. Then Yahweh now did what? Yahweh called Abraham again. It wasn't the first time Yahweh called Abraham. That was the second time, because before then, when they were in land of Ur, one way or the other, Abraham has stepped into the land of Canaan. He didn't stay long there. He went back. So their movement down to Haran, where the father stopped and died, was the second movement, and it was occasioned by Yahweh. Yahweh now put it in the heart of Terah to listen to his son, first son, Abraham, for them to move, because Abraham didn't subscribe to idol worship. It was a running battle between Abraham, Terah, who had 12 gods, 12 different gods, as a prince serving Nimrod, who was worshiping Baal, the sun god. Now, he had to convince the father, plus, because that time Noah was still alive, and Shem, and they convinced him to move, and he had to secretly, Terah had to move secretly, so that Nimrod will not notice. If Nimrod, because he was world power, he would have killed them. Nimrod did everything in the book to get Abraham killed. He imprisoned Abraham. He tried to, in fact, he threw him in the fire. He did everything to kill Abraham. But Abraham, was a man that cannot die. Yahweh was behind him. Yahweh was with him. And Yahweh saved him. By next week, Yahweh willing, we are going to look at a little bit of Abraham, and we are going to step into chapter 12, where we are going to look at how the call of Abraham became what today we know as the people, the chosen people of Israel, and how Yahweh entered into fresh agreements with Abraham, covenant. In fact, Yahweh had to enter into covenant 2 times with Abraham in order to convince him that he is with him. So here we have looked at religion. Religion that followed from Adam to Noah, the great-grandson of Noah, Nimrod, that religion is a carrier of idol worship. Gods, Elohim, Adonai, Lord, whatever in that language, the enemy is using human beings to worship him. He's causing human beings to worship him based on whatever language they're speaking, based on religion, which is idolatry. So we bless Yahweh for taking terror away, who took Abraham, the very seed, the son that was called by Yahweh. And through him, today, the nation of Israel was born. So, in a nutshell, that is the story of escape. Call it escape. Abraham, his family had to escape from the hand of Satan. It has been conflict, it has been trouble, it has been persecution, it has been enemy trying to rope the seed of Yahweh. But then Yahweh has always, looking for a way, finding a way to remove his own people from the clutch of this enemy, and making sure that his own people are set apart, are hidden. Remember Revelation chapter 12, you are not working in vain. This latter days, when the last beast will come on board, as Abraham escaped, Yahweh took him away with the father, the terror and all that, and hide them in Haran. The same way he's going to take away the woman called the true assembly. He's going to take them and move them into the wilderness, and he will hide them. Nothing is impossible before Yahweh. I was searching for Jeremiah before. In that Jeremiah, it was about language. Something happened to Judah. When Judah rebelled and continued to serve idol, this idol that we are talking about today, the remnant that left, because others had gone to Babylon, and Yahweh said the remnant should remain in Judea. They should not vacate. They should not leave. That is going to save them, protect them. But the other ones, those remnants, in fact, they rebelled. There was division. The larger division said, oh, they will go back to Egypt. And Yahweh had told them, never go back to Egypt. That when they were coming there, he told them, you will never go back to Egypt. It was to make do the word of Yahweh, but they rebelled against that word. And Yahweh said, well, you go back to Egypt. None of you who went to Egypt will return. You will come back. So the problem they had was the Queen of Coast or Queen of Heaven they were worshiping. And Jeremiah told them, please drop this thing that you're worshiping. You're going to be safe in Egypt if you do that. And you will find your way back. But if you don't, you are going to perish in Egypt. So when they insisted they will not listen to Jeremiah, and they said, Jeremiah, go to blazes. Because when they were worshiping Queen of Heaven, that they were blessed. Yahweh, undermined them. Yahweh didn't care to help them, sort them out. As a result, they will continue with Queen of Heaven. Jeremiah had to tell them, look, Yahweh has said you should not go to Egypt. But you went to Egypt. And now your problem had been this idol you are worshiping, you are carrying. Drop it, you refuse. Women stood firm and said to their husband, the queen that they were worshiping, the Queen of Heaven, that they will continue to worship, and their husband agreed with them. And they reported to Jeremiah, this is what the women said, and this is what they agreed with their women. And Jeremiah now had to give a verdict that they will all perish. If you look at Jeremiah 44, let me read from verse 26. Therefore, hear the word of Yahweh. Jeremiah is speaking to them. All Judah who dwell in the land of Egypt, behold, I have sworn by my great name, Yahweh is now speaking, says Yahweh, that my name shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Egypt, saying, Yahweh Almighty lives. Yahweh now remove his name from their mouth. Yahweh now remove his name from their midst. The name Yahweh now, they will not worship again. So don't call that name. And I believe that anyone that tried to call that name died. Something was happening to them. That's why Judah, when even those who were in Babylon got to know about all this, the name has to be, they have to go for Adonai, Elohim, and all that. That is what happened here, brethren. Because this set that went to Egypt, they were adamant to worship Queen of the Satan. Is what who that is. You see, Satan has different titles. And those who were in Babylon took the same. So when even they returned, because that name, Yahweh killed all of them that went to Egypt in rebellion. He killed them. Then, when they eventually returned from Babylon, those who went to Babylon and settled back into the land, they didn't call the name of Yahweh again. It's only the priests, when they built the temple and all that, was calling, and it was at the Holy of Holies he could pronounce that name in prayer and all that. That's all. All others, never. They were. So that is why they invented Adonai Elohim. We must know where this trouble began and how it is happening. Did Yahweh stop them from calling his name? No, they were calling the name of Yahweh with idols. Yahweh said, it will no longer continue. It will no longer be in vogue. I have now withdrawn my name. Don't mention my name again. Call whatever you are calling. Live with whatever you are living, but separate myself. Because you are blaspheming me. You are profaning my name. You are making my name vain. Making vain is making his name desolate. It's ruin. In fact, English word couldn't capture vain. It's all about making it desolate, ruin. It's all about making it empty. That is what it means in Hebrew. So when somebody leave the name of Yahweh and call another name, or mix the name, the person is polluting, defiling, blaspheming, profaning, ruining the name of Yahweh. Yahweh said he cannot share his glory, because his name is glory. Cannot share his glory with what? All those entities, all those names of idols. So run, brethren. If I hear you that is listening to this today, I will know that you are fighting Yahweh. No Elohim, whatever anybody will tell you. They don't read the Bible. The word of Yahweh in their hands, they don't read it. Everything that has been happening began with a particular situation and initiative. What caused this? Part of it is what we are reading. And Yahweh told them that when they go into the Gentile world, the same thing, they will not call his name. He said he will hide himself. He said he will withdraw himself. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 20 and 21. Yahweh was clear. In the Gentile world, he will not call me. He will not, because truly they will choose to call another. But in the latter days, those who will now return back to Yahweh, Deuteronomy chapter 4, 29, 30, he did say that when they seek him, they will find him. When they call up on his name, they will find him. He will return back to them. And Isaiah predicted, Isaiah 52, verse 6, that Yahweh will release his name, will reveal his name to his people again. And all this are happening in these latter days. When is latter days? We are in the latter days. I and you, Yahweh has revealed himself to us. We can now call his name. Amen. And how to call his name in purity, in holiness, in righteousness, in sanctity, in sanctification, is by calling only his name, not mixing it. We mix it with the name of idol. That is where the trouble is. Such prayers or such international relationship with Yahweh will not hold. Such prayers will not be answered. Please let us know the truth and it will set us free. As you continue to keep on following the truth, understanding the truth, doing what Yahweh asks you to do, following his instruction day by day, Yahweh will bless you. Yahweh will bless the work of your hand. Yahweh will bless your life, and it will be well with you. And when now the trouble will envelop the earth, Yahweh will hide you to keep you safe for the land, for you to secure the land. That is the eternal kingdom. May this be our portion. In Yeshua's name we pray. Hallelujah.